So, hello, everybody. Welcome to the Advancing Sustainability Through Life Cycle Approaches event. We're very happy to have you with us today. This event has been co-organized by the Life Cycle Initiative, the Swiss University, as well as the Swiss Canal University, EPD MENA, as well as which is part of the international EPD system, and of course, us here from the Life Cycle Initiative. We're really, really happy that you are here today. My name is Muna Muhammad, and I work with the Life Cycle Initiative in the UN Environment Program based out of the Paris office. And with me today are a bunch of my colleagues. There's Archana Zata, who's put together this entire event. Kudos to you, Archana. There's also Lawrence Milay Canales, and you will hear from him in the introduction today. So this event, we're really looking at the MENA region with its distinctive geopolitical landscape, energy, resources, and sustainability challenges as the backdrop for our discussion today. This event is going to delve into the potential of LCA, foster the knowledge exchange, and collaborate on advancing sustainable practices. And it will make the significant launch of the LCA MENA network. So the Life Cycle Assessment Middle East and North Africa network is dynamic and globally significant part of the world. And you will hear more about that from Dr. Nasr Ayoub towards the end of the meeting. Meanwhile, we've put together multiple presentations and a great panel session to look forward to from the MENA region as well as from outside to talk about the life cycle and its applications as we move forward. So we would really, I see that we have about 60 people who've already joined this call, and this number keeps on growing. We're really looking forward to have you with us today. And we would like you to be as active as you'd like to be. Please go ahead and comment in the chat. Let us know. Please respond to the different questions we'll be having, and let us know what you're thinking about and about the different activities that might be relevant to you and all of that information. Any questions and any discussions, you're also welcome to put it in the chat. We will be monitoring the chat, and we will make sure to respond to your questions as they come through. And of course, we'll always follow up after this event. So without any further ado, I would like to hand over to Lawrence Milay Canales, who is the head of the Secretariat of the Life Cycle Initiative based in Paris. His main area of expertise is the environmental assessment of products, focusing on life cycle assessment and its application on the implementation of sustainable business and policy models. And Lawrence today is going to give us a presentation, is going to welcome us into this event. So over to you, Lawrence.
Thank you so much, Mona, and thanks everyone for being here. I hope the sound is good. But most of all, first, thanks for making the time to participate in today's event. As Mona said, as Mona was introducing, that is this event is co-organized by the Suez Canal University, EPD MENA, part of the international EPD system and the Life Cycle Initiative. And I will very briefly mention, for those of you who might not know, that the Life Cycle Initiative was launched over 20 years ago in 2002 as a multi-stakeholder partnership. It is hosted by the United Nations Environment Program to promote the application of life cycle approaches. And UNEP has a specific interest on life cycle approaches because they are crucial to ensure that we shift towards more sustainable consumption and production patterns. It allows life cycle approaches allow us to transition to sustainability faster and more effectively. Faster because with life cycle approaches, we identify the key hotspots that drive environmental and social impacts, so we can prioritize those actions that yield the biggest result. And it's also more effective because we look at all the environmental and social potential impact drivers. And by looking at all of these impact drivers together, we can identify potential trade-offs of the decisions that we're making, and therefore address the potential trade-offs as we progress. In order to do this with the Life Cycle Initiative, but also through the work that we're doing in UNEP, we're focusing on high impact areas where we see that key sectors that are driving the most impact. So in the region of Middle East and North Africa, we think particularly the work on textiles, plastics, buildings and construction would be super relevant. But across UNEP, we're also working a lot on mobility, for instance, or food sector. In order to address these high impact sectors, from the initiative, we're providing a set of tools, specific tools like and specific knowledge assets. One of them is the Sustainable Consumption and Production Hotspots Analysis tool, which has already been used by some countries in the region. So the Sustainable Consumption and Production Hotspots Analysis tool, or SCP HAT, as we say for short, is actually a very powerful tool to address and to identify specific hotspots in the whole economy of our countries. And for instance, it's being used to update nationally determined contributions in the context of the Paris Agreement. So it's been actually used as well as the entry-level tool in a joint toolkit that UNEP is launching with the UNFCCC and the United Nations Development Programme, which was presented a few days ago in the African Climate Summit. But of course, tools and knowledge are not enough if we don't have the capacity to apply these or the enabling conditions. So this is actually the bread and butter of the Life Cycle Initiative, where we've been putting a lot of effort in the last 20 years, working on capacity building, capacity development, training programs, but also making the enabling conditions of access to data, consensus around impact assessment models. That's what we've been working on a lot. And we stress today particularly the importance of this capacity building, and particularly the capacity through networks and partnerships. Networks and bringing the people together, the people that are working on life cycle approaches is super important, because this strengthens the capacity. It allows the application of policies that are based on life cycle approaches. It fosters the collaboration for sustainable consumption and production. So bringing these networks together in the context of specific countries or in the regions, as we're doing today, is super important. There's a lot of work to do to enhance this capacity, to bring everybody together. And we're so much stronger working together that this is one of the key issues about networks. It's one of the key elements that they bring, which they bring the collective benefits and put the collective benefits forward while leaving the individual interests behind. And sometimes we work too much in silos. The idea of the network is to bring people together, leaving the egos behind to work all towards the same aim. So in advancing these networks, the strengthening of networks, we've been sharing as well, or we will be sharing actually in the chat, a link to a survey that we're doing to map capacities of the LCA network globally. So this is happening globally, but we obviously encourage you to participate in this survey. The idea is to foster the collaboration amongst networks as well, through sharing knowledge, providing a platform for communication, etc. And actually today we will hear directly from a couple of networks that have been very successful in the past. And today we have with us the representatives of the Swedish LCA network and the Ibero-American network. So we will hear about their experience a bit later. And we also do spotlight the network's work in our bi-monthly newsletter. So you will also be, if you're subscribed to the newsletter, you will be reading about experiences globally from time to time. So let me now close, because we have quite a packed agenda, as Mona announced. But before we close, let me say thanks, a big thank you to the funding partners that have been accompanying us for many years. And I think, yes, now you see them on the screens. So it's important that we recognize the work of the funding partners, of course, because they have been making the work of the Life Cycle Initiative possible for over 20 years. And of course, let me also say that we're always open to new partners. So if you would like to see your institution to be in this illustrious list, please do get in touch. I hope you've seen them. Well, it's a bit small, but as you can see, we have the governments of, well, the European Commission, Switzerland, France, Germany, and the Basque Country in Spain, as well as partners. Sorry, and EBICT as well in Brazil, part of the Brazilian government, as well as partners from the private sector. We have Unilever and Pre-Sustainability. So without that, without further ado, sorry, back to you, Mona, and well, wishing everybody a great webinar today. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lawrence. And it's great to see the different sponsors of the Life Cycle Initiative. Maybe we can't read all the names from the image, but one thing we can definitely see is there's not any sponsors from the Middle East and North Africa region. So this is a good opportunity to add your name on that list and be the first from this region. Thank you so much. And now we're going to have a presentation from Dr. Mahmoud Fathallah, the Director of the Department of Environment and Meteorology in the League of Arab States, on linking life cycle thinking to national strategies, enhancing sustainability through integrated decision making. Dr. Mahmoud Fathallah is an Egyptian economist who works as a senior economist of the League of Arab States in Egypt. He has a wide range of experience in both academic and applied economic policy. He also worked for several organizations, including the Ministry of Economy and Foreign Trade in Egypt, the United Arab Emirates University in UAE, UNDP, and USAID projects. Dr. Mahmoud Fathallah, over to you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for presenting me. I would like to thank UNEB and all the team for preparing this meeting and for inviting me to be part of this very important discussion. Actually, I will not provide a presentation. I just talk briefly about how to enhance sustainability through integrated decision by the linking life cycle thinking to national strategies. So as you just mentioned now, that the life cycle thinking has provided as a conceptual basis for moving sustainable agenda forward in the public and the private sector. Mostly all Arab countries has their own vision or strategies for sustainability or SDGs for 2030 or 2040, and for some countries 2050. The main objective of these strategies is to be a framework for action for the countries to endorse and commit or to accelerate the shift towards sustainable consumption and the production pattern. The sustainable production and the consumption patterns that would promoting social and economic development within the carrying capacity and the ecosystem, and the target is to delinking the economic growth from environmental degradation. As you know, that the environment in the Arab countries has many problematic issues, and we are working to deal with these challenges by engaging different stakeholders and the intergovernmental organization to work for enhancing the sustainability. So we in Arab countries engaged in the sustainable production and the consumption strategies and has its strategies in this regard. The Arab countries producing mainly the social responsibilities for the producer and also for consumption, to have the linking life cycle thinking for this production and consumption. We have some leading initiatives in the Arab region in this regard, such as the initiative of Saudi Arabia initiative for a carbon cycle economy as a leading life cycle strategy or initiative. And also we have experience in the UAE green economy initiatives and other Arab countries. So the Arab countries tries to introduce the life cycle thinking in the decision-making process. And we now start to see its appearance in some legislations and regulations to promote the idea in many Arab countries. And we are working in the Arab Ministerial Council of the Environment to enhance the experience of Arab countries in this regard. The main needs in Arab countries is capacity building. Capacity building is mainly an important issues, and we are looking for this point as a critical point in the region, and I am finding this workshop as good initiatives in this regard, and I hope that could enhance our experience in how to deal or how to engage in the life cycle thinking. This is briefly some point about the Arab countries and how we are dealing with this important issue. And for this, I will stop this point, and I thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Mahmoud. Quite on time. It's great to hear from you on how LCA can be used to accelerate the shift to sustainable consumption and production patterns, as well as the importance of engaging different stakeholders. And it's really interesting to know that the Arab Ministerial Council on the Environment is working on enhancing this experience. And we agree with you, capacity building is definitely a need in this region, and we'll be happy to see higher engagement with the region. Just a quick housekeeping note. I see that someone has their hand raised. So please put your questions in the Q&A box. It's easier for us to keep track. There's about 80 people of us already in this meeting, and the chat is filling up really quickly. We will have some time in the end to do some Q&A, but we will really appreciate your comments in the Q&A section. Thank you. So now we have with us Dr. Abir Sadek, who's the Technical and International Relations Director from the Egyptian Organization for Standards and Quality, a member of ISO National Climate Champion Network, who's going to speak to us about the importance of ISO 14040 and 14044 for increasing the product competition in the market. Dr. Abir is a professional senior candidate with over 20 years of experience in quality infrastructure pillars and activities. She's also a member of the ISO National Climate Champion Network. Over to you, Dr. Abir.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I'm very pleased to have this opportunity to join you today in this crucial webinar.
Dr. Abir, you've been muted. If you can unmute.
Sorry, muted. Sorry. Hello. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm very pleased to have this opportunity to join you today in this crucial webinar, along which tackling the advancing sustainability through life cycle approaches in the region. And meanwhile, most of people don't realize the importance of standards. While standards might not always capture headlines or grab our immediate attention, but they are the invisible threads that weave together the safety, quality, efficiency, and innovation in every aspect of our lives, specifically in sustainability, which is the current scope of focus of EOS as the sole national standardization body representing Egypt and the candidate of Egypt in different in the standardization arena, either internationally via having a membership in the technical community of ISO, as well as the Council Seat Policy Committee. That is in order to develop the national position in regard of the international standardization process. Also, we are very keen to be the representation of the Egyptian standardization community in the economic regions like African and other economic regions. Also, in this regard, we have acquired a membership in the National Climate Champion Network that ISO developed recently after COP27 with multiple preparations and initiatives for ISO for COP28. EOS is currently working on developing multiple standards that in harmonization with the international bundle of climate action tool kit that ISO developed for the sake of sustainability and climate related issues, as well as the environmental impact and the climate adaptation and mitigation. Today, I want to emphasize a fundamental pillar that often operates behind the scene, but plays an indispensable role in shaping our modern world. Think about the world we live in, a world of complex systems, diverse technologies, and the global interactions. We found standards that are the common language that enable different elements to work together. They are the benchmarks that guide us toward excellence and ensure that our products, services, and processes meet the criteria defined for each of them. In regard of life cycle assessment field specifically, we are have a membership and in the ISO technical committees that release a bundle of ISO 14000 series, and specifically on the global recognized framework for LCA studies, we find that ISO 14040 and ISO 14044, as well as some other environmental product declaration like ISO 14025. These standards define methodologies, matrices, and reporting guidelines that enable consistent and transport evaluations and presentation. That is why Egyptian Organization for Standardization and Quality recognize the importance of LCA, and we develop already Egyptian standards which are harmonized and typically matched with the content of ISO 14040 to this issued in 2006, also ISO 14044, and we develop it in the national version in Arabic language. Hereinafter, I'll tell you some reasons why EOS finds LCA and EPDs so important. First, for the sake of quality assurance, ISO standards ensure that products and services meet certain quality benchmarks, and they establish uniform criteria that help organizations manufacture products and provide services that meet or exceed customer expectations. This reliability fosters consumer trust and confidence in the marketplace. The second reason in regard of credibility and trust. In the era where consumers and businesses alike are seeking transparency and authenticity, standardization organization offer a stamp of credibility. So LCA and EPD standards developed by this organization establish a common language and methodology, providing a basis for trustworthy environmental claims. Another reason is for the comparability and benchmarking. Imagine a world where every organization used a different methodology to assess environmental impact. It would be nearly impossible to compare products fairly. You will find that standardization organization provide universally accepted guidelines that allow for accurate benchmarking, enabling informed choices by consumers and organizations. You'll find also that standards provide global consensus. As per environmental challenges that transcend by national boundaries, standardization organizations offer a platform for experts from around the world to collaborate on creating comprehensive and globally applicable LCA and EPD standards. This consensus-driven leads to global trade and market access by using ISO standards, where it facilitates international trade by establishing a common language, common standards, and criteria for products and services. Also, organizations that adhere to these standards find it easier to access global markets as they demonstrate their commitment to quality and safety. In regard of also to be environmental responsible, ISO standards encompass environmental management and sustainability practices. They guide organizations in minimizing their environmental footprint, reducing waste, and adopting sustainable practices that benefit both the planet and their bottom line. And in this regard, you will find also we depend in Egypt here on even most of the national initiatives that we tackle in regard of environment and climate protection, mitigation and adaptation. They are all dependable on either international standards or national standards that harmonize with the international ones. For the sake of safety and security, whether it is food we eat, appliance we use, or software we rely on, ISO standards often include safety and security consideration. They help to identify potential risks, establish preventive measures, and guide organizations in developing products and systems that prioritize the well-being of individuals and communities. Again, for supply chain responsibility, products often have complex supply chains that span the globe. Standardization organization guide organizations.
Sorry, Dr. Abir, I see you're muted.
Sorry?
But we are, yeah, I saw you got muted, but we are running out of time for this session, but I'll let you close.
Okay, just a minute. For supply chain responsibility and even for policy and regulation, policymakers rely on standards and of course standardized LCA and EPD methodologies will formulate effective regulation and policy, help in formulation of effective regulation and policies. Standardization organization provide the technical foundation for crafting legislation that promotes environmental protection and sustainability. In conclusion, ISO standards for life cycle assessment might not be the most glamorous topic, but their impact is far-reaching and transformative. These standards provide a structured framework for understanding and mitigating the environmental impact of our actions. By adopting these standards, countries can work towards a more sustainable and responsible future where our choices are guided by knowledge, our innovations are driven by necessity, and our planet's health is prioritized for generations to come. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Abir. So now we're going to move on to our first session of panelists on advancing life cycle assessment in the MENA region, looking at current progress and future prospects. We have with us 3 different speakers representing the different stakeholders. We will start off with Nadia Supin, who is the co-director of APD in Latin America. She's the founder as well of the Center for LCA and Sustainable Design in South Africa, who will give us a presentation on the comprehensive overview of life cycle assessment in the MENA region. Nadia Supin is also a global trainer, in environmental footprinting, following the ISO international standards, and she has more than 25 years of experience doing LCA studies. Over to you, Nadia.
Thank you so much. I am very happy to be in this webinar with all of you. Well, just a couple of things that I want to share. Back in 2015, I appreciate Dr. Abir Sadek talking about ISO, the International Standards for Organization, Standards Organization, where I've been working also for more than 20 years, and I am currently the Vice Chair of the Life Cycle Assessment Standards. We were developing a project which is called the MENA Store project that helped us develop capacity in the MENA region with more than 90 experts trained in the life cycle assessment standards, the footprinting standards, and also implementation in companies. There has also been another project which is very important that was promoted by UNIDO, which some of my colleagues have also been working and training people. So what I want to say is overall, we have a capacity now, not only at the academic level, but also pilot projects that have been very successful in the region. And as a trainer, as Mona was mentioning, I think we already have this seed going on in the MENA region to further LCA knowledge in the companies, in the government, in the quality infrastructure practices. And I want to show you really, really quick with the help of Archana, the outcomes of 2 of the companies that were successful in implementing the LCA standards. Thank you so much.
CIMAT, a cement company based in Algeria, their implementation of ISO 14044 has enabled them to perform impact assessment across the business to identify precisely where improvements need to be made. It's the first step on a journey to more efficient and cleaner production of cement. For Jordan's central electricity generating company, conserving resources through efficient operation is central to their business. By using ISO 14044, they've managed to prevent spillage of fuel oil into the soil. In doing so, they've not only eliminated a major risk of groundwater pollution, but attracted investment by demonstrating an environmentally responsible approach. They now plan to implement the standard at their other sites. ISO standards can work for any size of business in any sector.
Thank you so much, Archana. This is just a really quick example. We will provide the link of the ISO MENA Star project so that you can also be able to link with the other experts. I just have, in order to finalize my intervention today, just have 2 things to say. One is important to know that you are not beginners. There's expertise in the region, so it's a matter of reaching out, knowing each other, collaborating. And the second one is same as the Life Cycle Initiative is providing this opportunity to have this exchange and dialogue. I will be very happy and always welcoming you within the ISO community to be able to work at the international level, but also to be able to get the assistance and the training needed in terms of the standards in future projects. And don't forget, the companies use those examples, use that to also be able to go out and prepare more young people is needed, and also to be able to liaise with the governments and to help with the important decision making that LCA can provide. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Nidia. All right, and it's really, really great to hear about the expertise in the region. So it's a good note to move on to now our next speaker, Nahla Naim, who's going to speak on the experience of Saint-Gobain on using LCA for analyzing and improving products and processes. Nahla Naim is a sustainable solutions expert at Saint-Gobain EMI in the United Arab Emirates. She is an architect specializing in sustainable construction. She is also an instructor of contemporary architecture at the City University in Lebanon. Over to you, Nahla.
Hello, everyone. I'm so happy today to be with you and to present Saint-Gobain as Sustainable Solutions Specialist. I will talk today about LCA, EPDs, the sustainability approach of Saint-Gobain. So I prepare a small presentation. I will share my screen and we'll see together. 1 second, please. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Great. So I will start in my agenda. I have 4 sections. First, our sustainability team in Saint-Gobain. 2, the Saint-Gobain target. 3, I will do an introduction about LCA and EPDs. What is LCA? What is EPD? And what is the difference between LCA and EPD? 4, the next step, the LCA EPD roadmap for Saint-Gobain and Middle East countries. So I will start by presenting the sustainability team in Saint-Gobain. And Saint-Gobain, we have different departments, and we have a director, a solution director, it's Karima Karim. We have a sustainability team. In this sustainability team, we have the sustainability manager, Nada Shami, and me as sustainable solutions specialist. I work with the central team of Paris. So all the software, all the ISO, the standard, we work with them on this standard from the central team of Paris. So what is my target or my role in Saint-Gobain, at Saint-Gobain? First of all, I create a community. In this community, we have different leaders from different countries, from different Middle East countries. I train these people, I inform these people about LCA and EPDs. So first of all, of course, I check with them what is the need in their country, what is the sustainability need in their country. If the client asks them to have EPDs for products, or to have just LCA, to know just the impact of the product on CO2 or on the other environmental indicators. I support also leaders in all sustainability roadmap. We have not just EPD or LCA, we have label, green building, LEED, HPD, health product declaration. This is my job at Saint-Gobain. Now I will start by presenting Saint-Gobain and the approach of Saint-Gobain. Excuse me, I will put this here so it's better for you to see. So what is sustainability for Saint-Gobain? For Saint-Gobain, sustainability is a very important point or subject for now and for the future, because we have 3 major trends in our market for our business: environment, economy, and health. So we are working on not just environment, we are working on health and well-being of the people on the circularity, the economy of circularity economy, and for the carbon and the climate change. So we have also a key strategic driver to growth and differentiation. In Saint-Gobain, we work on innovation in our product. Why I can. Okay, so we have a sustainability roadmap in Saint-Gobain. We have two targets. The first target for 2030, we need to have 100% of our product with LCA calculation. This is the first target. And every new product, we need to have LCA for every new product at Saint-Gobain. Now we cannot launch new product without having an LCA for this product. And we have another target for 2050 is to have net zero carbon campaign. So it's very important to do LCA for all our products and get after our next target for 2050 to have net zero carbon for all our products. So this is our action plan, Saint-Gobain. We have two actions. First of all, existing portfolio. So all LCA leaders have been identified in the MENA cluster and start working on the roadmap. The objective is to have 100% of our portfolio covered by an LCA by 2030. And the other action, second action, the new solutions at Saint-Gobain. You know, at Saint-Gobain we have every year new solutions, new systems, new innovation. So all new products and systems must have an LCA before being launched in the market. This is our target in Saint-Gobain. Now I will do an introduction about LCA and EPDs. I think most people know what is LCA, what is EPD, or not know very much the details how to do LCA and how to do EPDs. I will start by explaining the difference between LCA and EPDs and what is the process to obtain the EPDs. LCA is a method to determine the environmental impact. So LCA is a calculation. It's not a public document. It's not a PDF. It's not a report. LCA is a method to know the environmental impact of the product. So to do LCA, we have a process. And after this process, to have EPD is a verified and public document based on LCA results. So to have EPD, we need to do LCA. We based on LCA. The EPD is based on LCA results. Now I will explain more about the process. The LCA, I will talk about the life cycle in our Saint-Gobain LCA. I will talk about our Saint-Gobain LCA because it's different. I think it's different from other company. In Saint-Gobain, the life cycle assessment is a methodology used to assess the environmental impact of a product. We start by the raw materials, the extraction of raw materials, after the production, after the installation, the transportation, the logistics, the use, and in the end of life, landfill or recycling. So the LCA covered all the life cycle of the product from cradle, from the extraction of raw material, cradle to grave. Grave, it's recycling or landfill. So for the life cycle assessment, this is the methodology used in Saint-Gobain. We use LCA for eco-innovation. We use LCA, for example, if we have a product and we need to innovate this product, we do LCA for the product, and we can do another LCA for the new product, and we can we do comparison for this two products to know why this product is more is friendly, is environmental friendly, or why we have an impact on CO2, or why this product is more is better for the environment. And also we use LCA for communication. For example, the client asks us to have the result, the environmental impact of this product. So we do LCA and we communicate the result for our client. Of course, also we have different requests from the market and from the client for the certification LEED or BREEAM for all the building. That's why we started working on LCA for all our products. This is the indicator. This is the result of LCA. We have here, you can see not only carbon footprint, not only the global warming potential, we have also different indicators. When we do LCA, we have a huge numbers of results. We have on global warming potential, but also we have results for example, acidification, air pollution, water pollution, hazardous, non-hazardous. So this is a table, for example, for the impact. You know, here, for example, we have global warming, we have acidification, energy consumption, water consumption, waste. So we have 28 indicators in the LCA calculation. The EPD, now I will talk about EPD. I talked about LCA. This is a process of LCA from data collection and after doing calculation and to obtain the LCA result. When we did the LCA calculation, we can generate a document based on the LCA results. This document, we put the characteristic of the product, we put the LCA result, we put multi-criteria, multi-steps. We put the international standard used in Saint-Gobain in this report. And after all, we send this report to a verifier. This verifier is a third party. It's not in Saint-Gobain. It's a third-party verifier. So this verifier will do the verification for our LCA calculation, for our EPD report, and after we can have the EPD verification and then publishing our EPDs on the international site of EPD International or Environdec. Okay, this is the process. Yes, excuse me.
No worries. We're just running out of time. Maybe I'll just give you a couple minutes, 1 minute more, yes, 1 more minute to close.
Okay, 1 more minute and I will finish. Okay, so this is a process. You can see, for example, the process starts by data collection. After we are working on Gabi envisions a software to do the LCA calculation. We generate results and after we do the EPD report and after doing the verified EPD with the third party. This is the EPD. And now just 1 minute to talk about our EPD progress in the Middle East country. For UAE this year, we have 14 EPDs. For KSA, we have 7, Kuwait 7, Egypt, we have 1 EPD, Turkey, we have 23 EPDs. And for LCA, we have also for KSA around 7 LCA till now, Kuwait 4, Qatar 9, Lebanon 15, and Oman 6. This is our LCA progress and EPD progress in Saint-Gobain. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Nahla. It's really good to take a step back and also talk about the differences between LCA and EPD. That's been very helpful. A couple of housekeeping notes. First, we've been posting the link to the LCA network survey. Please make sure that you take a look at that and you respond to it. And then please send us your questions and we will take the questions at the end of the session today. Please make sure you send us your questions in the Q&A box. And feel free to send us your questions in English or in Arabic. We'll be able to accommodate questions in both languages. Okay, and then now we're going on to move on to hear from Rima Manne. Ahla sahla Rima, who's the LCA Center Director of University of Balamond in Lebanon. Rima is going to talk to us about integrating life cycle approaches for environmental impacts in Lebanon. She is the director of the Life Cycle Assessment Center of the University of Balmain, and she's held the position of chairperson of the Chemical Engineering Department at UOB from 2019 to 2022. Her research focuses on environmental life cycle assessment for the Lebanese context. Over to you, Rima.
Thank you so much, Mona, for this nice introduction. I will share my screen presentation. You can see my screen?
Yes, we can see your screen.
Great. Perfect. So thank you. First of all, thank you again for having me as a speaker today. It's my pleasure to be here during this webinar. What I would like to go into is a brief history of life cycle assessment in Lebanon. And then I'll dive deeper into how LCA is integrated at both academic and industrial levels in the Lebanese context. So it all started back in 2011 for us in Lebanon when the ISO standards about LCA, ISO 14040 and 14044, were adopted by the Lebanese Standard Institution. In 2015, the ISO standard about the water footprint in life cycle assessment was also adopted by Lebanon. It was the year during which it was the first time that a 3-credit course about life cycle assessment was taught at an academic institution. And it was also the year during which it was the first scientific publication written about an LCA for a Lebanese case study. Moving forward, this is a bit of history. In 2016, one additional scientific article was published. It was also the year during which 4 people from Lebanon were selected to participate in the ISO MENA STAR project. So Ms. Nidia talked about before. I'm talking about the one about ISO 14046, which I had the pleasure to be one of the 4 people selected. And I'm grateful to Mr. Naji Tannous for proposing my name at the time. It was a program to train the trainers about the water footprint in LCA. In 2018 and 2019, 2 additional scientific articles were written about life cycle assessment for Lebanese case studies. Same for 2020. I think you would agree with me that 2021 was kind of a hot year for LCA in Lebanon. We had 5 journal articles published. So I'm talking about peer-reviewed scientific articles. It was also the beginning for the Suez project about sustainable wastewater treatment for hospitals. I'll say more about that in a minute. It was also the year during which we organized the first online seminar about life cycle assessment in Lebanon. It was also the year during which the first and only life cycle assessment center in Lebanon was launched at the University of Balmain, UOB. In 2022, 2 additional scientific articles were written in Lebanon about LCA. It was also the year during which the LCA Center saw its first platinum industrials sponsor an industry in Lebanon. And it was also the year during which it was the first time that the LCA Center gave a training on LCA and a first success story for environmental product declaration for the Lebanese industry. In 2023, so far, there is 1 scientific article about LCA for a Lebanese case study. That was a bit of overview of the history of life cycle assessment in Lebanon. Now, how is LCA integrated in academia in both research and teaching? So in research, so far, from 2015 till today, there are 4 peer-reviewed scientific articles about LCA for Lebanese case study. Maybe you agree with me, it's quite diverse. So lots of them on renewable energy strategies for the Lebanese context, and some on different industrial products, like, for example, packaging, yogurt, and wine. In teaching, at Balmain since 2015, so there is a 3-credit course covering the 4 phases of LCA with a practical case study where we teach the students the CIMA Pro software, and they have to do a case study using this software. I've had the pleasure of teaching this course since then. And since 2021, I incorporated the Life Cycle Thinking online course that you can find online from LCI. Since 2021, And the students enjoy doing that because they get a certificate at the end of it and they take it as a take-home homework, okay? And the LCI was kind enough to write about our experience in their newsletter back in 2021, if I'm not mistaken. In academia, life cycle assessment is also integrated in the Suez project, Sustainable Wastewater Treatment for Hospitals. It's a very interesting capacity building project funded by the Erasmus Plus program, bringing together different organizations from Europe and Lebanon. The University of Balamand is the leader on this project, so the coordinator of the project. And why am I mentioning it to you today? Because it deals with LCA of wastewater strategies, especially in the second work package. If you'd like more info on this, you can go to suez.eu. And this is a picture that we took back in Spain, in Lleida, Spain. In 2022, we had a training on the Gabi LCA software. This was for academia, and in industry, mainly LCA is integrated through research projects with the academic sector. So unfortunately, I don't have much time today to go in details, but I'll just give you a quick glance of three of them. The first one is for the industry SCAF farm in the Bekaa region, where we had to do a cradle-to-grave life cycle assessment and water scarcity assessment for Laban, which is a plain Greek-style yogurt. If you'd like more details on that, you want to dive deeper into the study, you can go to the article over here. The second example of collaboration and industry using LCA, it was with SMLC Pepsi, where we had to do a cradle-to-grave environmental comparison of impacts between PET and glass for the Lebanese context. And this is also the publication if you would like to go more and read about it. And the third example, it was with the organization Albina in Lebanon to compare from an environmental perspective the conventional electric heater to the solar water heater to the relatively newer technology in Lebanon, the air source heat pump. And the work is here in Journal of Building Engineering. So that was a bit of a glance about the projects. And in 2021, as I mentioned in the beginning, we've had a seminar organized by the University of Balamand. This was the first time in Lebanon that a seminar gets organized about life cycle assessment. So to bring on more awareness, both at academic and industrial level and at the level of the country in general. And why specifically I'm mentioning this today to you? Because at the end of the seminar, we had the launching of the first and only life cycle assessment center in Lebanon at the UOB, University of Balamand. It does remain to be inaugurated, but we're hoping to do that in 2023, so soon. And we've had our first platinum industrial sponsor, an industry in Lebanon, Matelek SAL. They produce power transformers and distribution transformers. They reached out to us back then to do for them carbon footprint study, training on LCA, and also life cycle assessment studies for their distribution transformers. This is a picture that we took during the training on life cycle assessment that we provided Matelek SAL. Mr. Rabia Deep from Matelek attended this training. It was a 3-day training on LCA. And this is a screenshot of the, I would say, success story of collaboration with Matelek SAL obtaining their EPD. So technically, there should be one more company added to the EPD list from the presentation before me. And so this was a success story as well. Moving forward, I would say that we hope to have more collaboration with industry and raise more and more awareness on the importance of life cycle assessment for industrial purposes in particular. So this concludes my presentation. I would like to thank you very much for your attention, and so shukran.
Afwan. Shukran for your presentation. Thank you. Rima, it's really nice to hear from you. It's exciting to see all the different studies in the region and the different events in the region. And I'll use this opportunity to put a plea out. whenever anybody is doing anything on life cycle in the region, please feel free to send us the information about your events so we can publish them in our newsletter. We'd be very happy to feature it, and we'd be happy to hear how the events went as well. So, and we'd also like to take this opportunity to thank the University of Balaman for their support through you, Dr. Rima, with the event planning as well. So thank you very much. So we
You are
have,
most welcome. It's my pleasure.
thank you. So we have one question. So maybe I'll invite the panelists to open their cameras again. So Nidia and Nahla, if you could also please open your cameras. We have one question that we've received. How is the lack of region-specific background data handled in general? And then maybe before I let you answer, I'll give you a minute to think about it. I also want to point out that the question was submitted as anonymous, and we'd really appreciate it if you can put your names down when you ask these questions so we can keep track of who's asking these questions. All right, over to you, Rima, and then Nahla and Nidia as well. If you want to answer, please feel free to unmute yourself and respond.
Thank you for the question. So whoever asked it, it's actually a very, very important, crucial point, what you have raised. And for example, hello, Zinab. So basically, what we're trying to do now in life cycle assessment at the Balaman, our vision for the next 5 years, in particular for Lebanon, is to really have a more regionalized, for example, inventory data, where we would have to collect more regionalized information about emissions from industry. This is a bit for the inventory part, where we have to collect the inventory data. Now, at the level of the impact assessment, I would not say that there is a lack of region-specific background data, because I know that there are lots of work, scientific groups, international ones, that have worked on regionalization of the impact at the impact level. So, for example, USTOX has been regionalized for human toxicity, and there are other work towards that. But this is a bit my view on it.
Nadia, I see you've unmuted as well.
Yes,
Do you want to take
yes.
a shot?
I just want to say that since the project we started with the MENA star within ISO, we have been working together with EcoInvent in some of the countries to be able to develop at least the minimum data sets that are needed for developing the basic inventories and a basic life cycle assessment. It is still happening, and we are furthering that project within a project that is being carried out in Tunisia right now. I'm quite sure Naziha is going to talk about it. But the issue here is the region has to work. Rina just mentioned it. There has to be some more work at country level to be able to get the information. But I think if there's collaboration, once again, there is the support from an association like EcoInvent, who's been supporting us since the beginning of the MENA Star project. Most probably the basic inventories will be available, and there can be a baseline for life cycle data in the MENA region. Thank you.
Thank you, Nidia. Nahla, I see you're also there. Do you want to add something?
Yes, for the data, I will talk about Saint-Gobain, of course, but for our data internal use, we are doing a collect for all the data for all our range of products. So we have like a PIM, not BIM, it's a PIM. It's not a software, but it's a platform, a cloud, to collect all the data in this cloud. So it's like a digitalization of our data in this platform. So we can use this PIM, this data, and we have link between PIM and LCA. So it's easy to do LCA internal later, and to have EPDs after, depend of the request of the market in Middle East countries. This is our approach. Thank you.
So thank you very much to our panelists. is great to have all the different perspectives from industry, from academia, as well as from an LCA practitioner. We're very lucky to have had you all join us. We're going to move on now to the, there's one more question in the chat. Can we have an open source for these data sets? And I'm not sure who that question is targeted to, because we've spoken about
I am quite
sets.
sure I can help here, Mona. I think, yeah, the ideal would be, of course, to have the life cycle initiative within the GLAD project help out and collaborate. I think what we have been doing at the level of our projects can, of course, be combined with what the life cycle initiative has to offer. And this is why the dialogue is for. So hopefully we can develop something that is available for everyone, open source and in GLAD.
And that's great. Nydia just mentioned GLAD, which we haven't had an opportunity to talk about previously, but it's a product of the Life Cycle Initiative where we put together different databases, and we will drop the link to that in the chat. Okay, I see that Archana and Lawrence just did. So please feel free to check it out. Let us know and we will see how to connect you. Can you still hear me? Yeah, okay.
Yes, perfectly.
Select my microphone. Okay, so we are going to move on now to the next session, focused on forging collaborative pathways, networks' vital role in advancing critical life cycle assessment capacities. This session is going to discuss the present state and challenges of life cycle assessment adoption in MENA, and it aims to identify pathways for its advancement, promote sustainability, and improve environmental decision-making in the region. And we will, with our panelists, explore the instrumental role of networks in advancing life cycle assessment capacities, as well as fostering collaboration to drive sustainability efforts in the different sectors. We will give each of our panelists 5 minutes to give their opening remarks. On the 4th minute, I will open my camera, and on the 5th minute, I will let you know that we have run out of time. And so I will start off with Dr. Mohammed Tawfiq Ahmed, professor from Suez Canal University, Egypt. He is an experienced scientist in environmental issues with significant contributions to many of the landmark documents issued by international bodies, including UN bodies, the World Bank, the European Commission, as well as other regional organizations. Dr. Mohammed Tawfiq. And see your face. Hello, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, great. So I will hand over to Dr. Mohammed Tawfiq, who's a professor from Suez Canal University. He is an experienced scientist in environmental issues with significant contributions to many of the landmark documents issued by different international bodies, such as the UN, the World Bank, the European Commission, as well as other regional organizations. Dr. Mohammed Tawfiq, I'll hand over to you for your opening remarks. Dr. Mohammed, in case you're talking, you're muted.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now. Can you also push the camera a little bit lower so we can see you too?
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, please go ahead. Please go ahead.
Okay. Life cycle analysis is one of the most comprehensive sort of environmental management system with tremendous wide use in different aspects of environmental sustainability, and integrating our sort of resources. These might represent some examples of the very wide use of life cycle analysis as part of ecological footprint, circular economy, sustainable consumption and production, and many others. Life cycle analysis is very important for the Arab nations, simply because Arab countries are embarking on developing some of the newly sophisticated projects, things like green hydrogen, sustainable consumption and production, circular economy. And there is a very strong need in some of these or all of these projects to implement the life cycle analysis as an integral part of representing the results and the usefulness of these new sort of projects or systems. Nevertheless, the use or the application of life cycle analysis in MENA region is very minor, and it's mainly restricted to research projects, but its use in large projects or international sort of activities is still very limited, and we need to foster this one way or the other in order to benefit from the great advantages of life cycle analysis. We at Suez Canal University are trying to produce a sort of coalition of some different universities in the Middle East, including the Arabian Gulf University in Bahrain and Sultan Qaboos in Oman and the University of Sidi Mohammed in Morocco. The main objective of this coalition is to promote life cycle analysis in our region and to produce enough research and enough application in order to attract the attention to that particular environmental system in our region, so we can widen the use of life cycle analysis. Meanwhile, we have a center of excellence at Suez Canal University that is totally dedicated to life cycle analysis. And we are seriously considering promoting streamlined life cycle analysis. We must admit that life cycle analysis is a very useful sort of management tool. But on the other hand, life cycle analysis is extremely demanding for a lot of information and a lot of data. And in our countries, to obtain or to secure this voluminous part of data sometimes is very sort of difficult thing. At least in case of Egypt, we have great difficulties in obtaining many of the information we require for a sound or a full-fledged life cycle analysis. So we thought promoting streamlined life cycle analysis could be a very good advantage for the life cycle analysis and also for our countries, simply because it will enable us to use life cycle analysis in this very simplified sort of technique. Well, one of the previous presentation was commenting on the inventory. Inventory is the heart of the life cycle analysis. It needs huge information. In 95% of our cases in a country like Egypt, we cannot have this volume of information. So the only alternative is to use streamlined life cycle analysis, depending on the sort of surrogate results or simulation results. And this is one of our very strong commitments at Suez Canal University to help promote life cycle analysis. We definitely believe that the first step in promoting life cycle analysis is to start with streamed life cycle assessment. Then eventually we might go for a full-fledged life cycle analysis. These are some of the reports that commented on streamlined life cycle analysis and all of them are supporting and are in favor of using streamlined life cycle analysis in order to overcome the tremendous demand of too many reports and data and information. I just have a number of copies or research conducted on life cycle analysis, and I thought it might be a good idea to let you have a sort of idea about these research papers. In case any of you would like to have a copy of them, just write to me and I can send the requested paper.
Thank you very much, Dr. Mohammed Tawfiq. Perfect timing. So from here, we'd like to go over to Naji Tanous, who has an engineering degree in MBA, and so he has an engineering degree and MBA, and is a certified financial analyst with professional experience spanning 43 years, of which 19 years are in the construction sector. And since the year 2000, he has been an independent environmental performance consultant, mainly as a resource efficiency and cleaner production assessor in the buildings and industrial sectors, as well as a designer of renewable energy systems and LCA practitioner. Naji Tanous, over to you.
Thank you, Mona, and greetings again to participants. The aim of my intervention is to highlight the importance of building a strong business case for LCA and its related activities, namely PCRs and EPDs. This, if we intend to mainstream life cycle thinking in our economies. I'm going to illustrate my point by comparing the market performance in Lebanon of two certification standards, namely ISO 9001 and ISO 14001. ISO 9001 certification is an assurance that customers will receive quality services and products, but concurrently, it does not tackle the environmental footprint of these products and services. On the other side, an ISO 14001 certification is an assurance that the company acts to minimize the environmental footprint of its products and services, but at the same time, this standard does not tackle the quality of the products and services. In Lebanon, the ratio of ISO 9001 to 14001 certifications is 7 to 1. The worldwide average is around 2.7. It means in Lebanon, we are 2.5 times higher than the world average. The average in the MENA region is nearly like the world average. Apparently, this performance in Lebanon is an indication that people in Lebanon put more value on quality products and services rather than on the quality of the environment. This leads us to conclude that ISO 9001, for example, has a much stronger business case than ISO 14001, at least in Lebanon. Needless to say, this business case, particular to Lebanon, is purely based on market dynamics because these are voluntary standards. Therefore, no interference from the regulatory authorities. Furthermore, the certifications are not always export-driven. What's the date from my story? Well, if we intend to mainstream LCA and related EPDs and PCRs into our economies, a necessary prerequisite is to build a strong business case for these tools, even in places where the regulatory framework is weak, like is the case in Lebanon, which means we need to work bottom up rather than top down. As a recommendation, it would be advisable to concentrate on one or two flagship sectors of activities common to all countries in the region and start working together on the business case of LCA and EPTs in these sectors and develop concurrently the necessary technical tools and know-how related to the life cycle thinking in these sectors in the MENA region. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Naji. That was perfect timing. I will now hand over to our next panelist, Naziha Hassin, who's a general engineer and head of the department at the International Center for Environmental Technologies of Tunis. Naziha, are you there? Can you open your...
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, perfect. Great to see you with us today. Naziha is also a third-party auditor, IRCA of ISO 14001 TUV Rhineland, and has more than 23 professional experiences. She's responsible for setting, managing, and monitoring national and international cooperation projects. Over to you, Naziha.
Thank you. Thank you for this invitation to this webinar on advancing sustainability through life cycle approach, and to the dear expert Nidia Sapen, who proposed my name to the organizer of this webinar. So I will present for you in brief the experience of CITED in relation to the life cycle assessment, PEF, and the environmental declaration approach. CITED, through the assistance department, has implemented activity and projects for implementation the approach of life cycle assessment, PEF, and environmental product declaration through national and international cooperation projects such as UNIDO and UNEP. The first project as part of Project Tunisia Clean Production Project, funded by UNIDO on 2012-2015, three life cycle studies were carried out. Can I my presentation?
Yes, we will check on that.
Yes. I can share my presentation?
Yeah, please go ahead.
Okay. Just so. You can see my presentation?
Yes, we can see your presentation.
Yes. So the first project is about the three life cycle study for Tunisia flagship products such as olive oil, date, and harissa. For the date, for example, comparison between the two production methods of conventional dates and organic dates. So the result of this of the project maybe in general for conventional dates the impacts are higher compared to the organic dates. The main recommendation in this time is the substitution of the methyl bromyl by phosphoxam. So for the second product is the harissa. You can see the impact of between two products. So there is product conventional and product harissa pilot project when there is the fertilizer is maybe a project with a student, and they comment with so it's a good method for the agriculture and the factory, and we can see that the pilot project, the result of the pilot project is good than the harissa convention. Also, CITED received a specific request for the development of an environment and health declaration sheet for the building sector. So a life cycle study according to 14 and 40 and European standard UN, yes. So 50 and 804 has been prepared, and environmental and health declaration sheet has been prepared. So you can see the result of this study and the impacts of this product. The product is the plasterboard for the building sector. The next project is the PEF approach, is an initiative of European Commission with aims to improve competition between manufacturers and strengthen the validity and communication of the environmental performance of the products based on methodology of life cycle analysis and potential and associated labeling system. It is a method for evaluating and measuring the environmental impacts of a product or service throughout its lifespan, life cycle, using a standardizing methodology. So in this case, CITED implemented a project with UNIDLU. So for two products, for the past, olive oil and yaourt. So for example, for the impact in the environment, we can see that the product of pasta, there is 1.67 kilogram CO2 equivalent. And for the olive oil, 1.74 kilogram CO2 equivalent. And for the yaourt, 0.33 kilogram CO2 equivalent. So,
Naziha, thank you. You have 5 more seconds to close the opening remark. I know you still have other slides, but we might have the chance to talk a little bit more about that during the question and answer session.
Yes. Okay. I don't see.
Yeah. 5 more seconds to close.
Okay. Okay. This is this project for the carbon footprint 14 and ISO 1467. So for two sector, for the companies in the textile sector and companies in the agri-food sector. So you can see the result for the t-shirt. You can see the result of the carbon footprint, and for the pant, you can see also the result of the study carbon footprint for the pant. And also now we are in the project of Intex with UNEP. Since May 2021. So this project is specific for the output 3 for the capacity of 5 SME to integrate life cycle approach into commercial practice, in particular the environmental footprint of the product. We are in modeling, we are in the process of data modeling with CIMA Pro software and the preparation and the study report with international expert, Mr. Juan Pablo Chargoy and Mrs. Nidia Sabat. So finally, we have now a project with 2 experts, international, Mr. Juan Pablo Chargoy and Mrs. Nidia Sapin, to implement a project to calculate the carbon footprint for the for 2 sectors. In the automotive and the aeronautic sector in Tunisia, the indicator is 65 companies, and in August we organized the training for 15 national experts with Nidia and Juan. So the objective, finally, the objective for this project is the training of national experts in the field of life cycle assessment and carbon footprint in according with ISO 14 and 40, ISO 14 and 44, and the ISO 14 and 67 version 2019, raising awareness and training companies on carbon footprint, support of a group of 65 companies operating in the automotive and the aeronautic sector in the development of carbon footprint study and development of les émissions de gaz à effet de serre.
Greenhouse gas.
Greenhouse gas, yes, thank you. And reduction action plans. And finally, establishment of a platform for sharing and exchanging good practices in the carbon, in the gas effect.
Thank you, Nazia. We will be sharing these slides with everybody, and we'll be able to have a little bit more of an exchange.
Thank you very much for your attention. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. All right, so we will head over to our last speaker in this panel, Claudia Peña from the Ibero-American Life Cycle Network. Claudia is the Director of Sustainability with a demonstrated history of working in the mining and metals industry. She's a strong community and social services professional, skilled in sustainable development, ISO 14,000 series, material flow analysis, industrial ecology, corporate social responsibility, and sustainable business. Over to you, Claudia.
Thank you. Well, I'm very happy to be here. Sorry, I have got cough, so I won't talk with coughing my presentation. But I'm here in the name of the Ibero-American Network of LCA. Very glad to share our experience in how we built the network and what is the value of having a regional network such as now in the MENA region. First of all, when we start in 2003, more or less at that time, sorry, there's some capacity already in the region, but in the academic sector, and what the network was instrumental was to really level the capacities in the region and to identify those expertise and have a common way to present things and to try to influence the global agenda, highlight those things that are important for our region, but I think common things for emerging countries as well. So after that, we promote also the formation of national networks in different countries. The last one, which is about to join us, is from Dominican Republic, but we were also very instrumental for impulse the life cycle thinking in the region, not just at an academic level, but at government and also private level. We are a strong network. We have the capacity of negotiate. We have a lot of MOU. One of these is with the Life Cycle Initiative, of course, we're part of the steering committee of the Life Cycle Initiative, but also with the FSLCA and with the EPD Latam, we also have an MOU. I think now we are advancing to a new era, and we are just looking also for interregional and global agreements and see opportunities for big project, but also to highlight those points that are important for the development, for sustainable development of emerging regions. And I think this is the key point for all of us, to have something that is common to all, that can represent us, that really recognize and can collect the ambitions and the ideas and the needs from different countries with common language in our case, and to present this in a general way in international forums. We also promote projects in different countries and support different initiatives with our logo, but also with our expertise. We have a major conference every 2 years, which is SILCA. The last one was here last July in Chile. And also in the middle, we have little seminars that are local initiatives in different countries, which have been very useful for highlight those local efforts. I'm very glad to be here and see the important capacity and that MENA region has, the nice project you are highlighting now. And I think we have a very common perspective that means that in the future we can make also some interregional efforts to highlight at global level what is important for our countries. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Claudia, and sorry that you're not feeling too well today. Okay, so we are now going to move on to the questions section of the panel. And my first question goes to Dr. Tawfiq, Dr. Mohammed Tawfiq. You talked about promoting life cycle assessment and its streamlining. How can we do that in the region? If you were to give us 1 or 2 tips for how to do it in the region, what would you say?
Okay, can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
You can hear me?
Yes.
Okay. In my view, it's really a must trying to develop streamlined life cycle analysis in our part of the world, simply because our part of the world is not really ready to provide the required information of a full-fledged life cycle analysis. So it's either we modify the life cycle analysis or we can never have life cycle analysis. I have been working in this field for years and years and years, obtaining information from government or other bodies. It's extremely difficult in our part of the world for no reasons, or even for reasons that I'm not aware of. So in order to produce or in order to tame life cycle analysis and use it, and we really need, there is a desperate need to use life cycle analysis in our part of the world. But with our conditions, we have to simplify life cycle analysis one way or the other. Otherwise, we can never use it. And many other countries, many other places, many other companies, many other institutions have resorted to that alternative and started to use modified or simplified or streamlined life cycle analysis, producing beautiful results, trying to improve the quality of their products and the quality of environment and the quality of the health of the people as well. So in my view, streamlined life cycle analysis is number one must in our part of the world. And UNEP should adopt that particular area, trying to promote it one way or the other. Otherwise, we will be wasting our time trying to promote full-fledged life cycle analysis. We don't have the quality to produce this full-fledged life cycle analysis. Let us face it. We really do not have the ability to provide the information needed for that particular process. So either we drop it altogether or we try to modify it. And many countries and many institutions have already modified it and achieved very good success with life cycle analysis. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Tawfiq. I think one thing we're really trying to do within UNEP is definitely to promote life cycle assessments and to promote its application. And we understand that there are quite a lot of challenges in different countries and different regions as well. And we've seen the life cycle regional networks, for example, the one in Latin America, the Ibero Latin American Network has been quite successful at bringing the capacity of people, of experts in the region, as well as it has been successful at developing databases and that can be used in these regions. So actually, Claudia, maybe I'll hand over to you now and ask a little bit about what do you think should be the vision for the MENA region, judging or mirroring on the experience that you've had in the Ibero-American Life Cycle Network. What are some key milestones should we be looking at as we are moving forward to establish a network in the Middle East and North Africa region?
I think you can use some tools like diagnostic at the national levels and see what if this was in the academic only or also permeate to public and private sector, and try to level the playing field for everyone. I think capacity building is very important, and also include as much people as possible in small projects, just to start. I think the people, the only thing they should do is start, even with little things, and use that to promote the region. I think you have enormous capacity already. Nidia and other presenters already talk about the databases. I think this is a very good initiative indeed. And I think then to start doing annual or biannual conferences to discuss things and interchange experience. What is valuable in one part could be also applicable in another. This really advance the knowledge and make things easy for everyone.
Thank you, Claudia. These are short but not very easy milestones, but we're definitely looking forward to see more milestones from the region. And it's great, you pointed us back to a lot of the experience that already exists in the region. And one such experience is right now the capacity of CITIT on training and accompanying SMEs in conducting hotspot analysis, which is one of the approaches in life cycle assessment. So I have a question for you, Naziha, on this. Do you have any recommendations to small and medium enterprises on why it's important to conduct a hotspot analysis and how it can help them in their work?
Yes, thank you for your question. It's important for us. So the approach for the project, Intex project, in the first part of this project is to identify the hotspots of each company. So in the middle, each company can see the impact or the activities when there is the high impact, and they can develop the study in these activities. So we can continue the project and collected the data for the hotspot and model the SEMA-Pro software to calculate the impact of this project. So for us, the approach of the INTEX projects is very good for us, and all the SMEs presentation of on this project, on this approach. I have some thing to promote the life cycle assessment. For example, for us is to the capacity building for the national experts. For Tunisia today, there isn't the expertise in this field. So it's important to work in the capacity building of national experts, and also the development of country-specific data sets. For example, for Tunisia, when we check the eco-invent database, we have only energy data, so we haven't any data. The third thing is the development and the confirmation of a methodology which will be made available to any company to quantify its impact on the environmental and engaged in a strategy to protect the environment. So these 3 points, for me, it's important to think to promote the life cycle assessment and PEF and environmental declaration for the product.
Thank you, Naziha. I think that's a great place to be. And you've mentioned the INTEX project, which is a project funded by the European Commission, where for innovative business practices and economic models in the textile value chain, just so our audience is aware of where the discussion is going. Yes. And so to end this panel, I have one last question for you, Naji. You talked a little bit about the lack of strength of the regulatory framework and how it's important to work from the bottom up. You have quite a lot of experience in the building sector, and maybe if you could just, in a brief, give us a brief snapshot of how your experience in the building sector with life cycle assessment in this region has been so far.
Yes, thank you. Basically, LCA in Lebanon, I would say, is still in its infancy. Myself, in the building sector, I didn't do much LCA. It was actually it was more in the paper sector and food, more than in the building sector. Even though I believe that we should start with the building sector, and one of the strategic sectors to be that spans all the region is and maybe we need to have a regional effort, is to start with the building sector, because this is common to all the MENA region and all the countries. For example, glazing, insulation, cement, and so on. So I believe we need to start somewhere, like Claudia said. We need to start somewhere and move on. And anyway, LCA actually, I will say, it is not an exact science. Bring 3 people, 10 people to do an LCA study on a particular subject, they will come out with 10 different results. So building sector is very important. important. We need to start with the building sector. This is very important for us to have maybe a common project for the MENA region and start building data sets for the building sector, maybe regional data sets for the building sector. And maybe also we can even develop regional impacts for the building sector, which could be done, and even also include the social LCA in the building sector, because this is a sector where really social LCA is very relevant. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Naji. And I think with this, we can conclude the panel, and we now have another session just before we go to the closing by Dr. Nasser Ayoub, who is the Managing Director of EPD MENA, who will be announcing the life cycle network in the MENA region. Professor Nasser Ayoub is the Managing Director of EPD MENA and the co-founder and CEO of EPD Egypt, UNFCCC roster of experts member, as well as an accredited EPD verifier. He's a senior lead environmental consultant and a certified LCA professional. Dr. Ayoub has more than 25 years of comprehensive academic and professional experience in 7 different countries: the Netherlands, Japan, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, USA, and Kuwait. Dr. Nasser, over to you.
Thank you so much, Mona. Thank you so much. Good afternoon, good morning, everyone. Actually, I want to express my gratitude to each one who has joined today. Great, inspiring talks and information on life cycle assessment status in our region. Wow, we have like 100 LCA and EPDs from Saint-Gobain only. So it is agreed to hear that. It is really a milestone to have one company that have more than 100 LCAs done in the MENA region. We have LCAs and EPDs from Lebanon, from Egypt, from Tunisia, Algeria, and today we have one in just appeared from Oman. So actually, personally, I have done like 20 LCA studies in Egypt. Is it easy? No, it is not. Data is lacking. Yes, there are lots of lack of data, but actually that shows that this is the right time for us in our journey to embark and launch life cycle assessment networks in the Middle East and North Africa. Many people has done LCAs. Nidia in the morning in the first session mentioned that there is an LCA center in Algeria. Dr. Muhammad said there are lots of collaboration with Morocco. Dr. Rima has already developed EPDs and the LCAs in Lebanon, Dr. Naji, and so on. So it's time to get our network, our LCA network in the Middle East to conquer the issues and the problems in the MENA region. I will now share my very short presentation to explain and share with you what do we mean by life cycle assessment network in the Middle East and Africa. The main issue and the main reason why we are launching the LCA network now, it is not launched yet. It is just in infancy phase. It is just an idea in our minds. It was discussed and developed with our colleagues in Life Cycle Initiative. So it is not a formal community network. It is not LCA community network. It is more an engagement network. It is for LCA experts, for interested stakeholders, companies, NGOs, IGOs, and governmental organizations who wants to develop the LCA thinking in the local and the regional levels. Actually, it is written here that we need to develop a regional database. So it's yes, it is hard. There is no database, but we need to start by building, as Dr. Naji said, regional database to drive the transition to eco-friendly, socially and economically sound products and services in the Middle East. Here is the vision that we share. We can, if you have some modification, we will be happy to modify the vision, to modify the mission. But basically, to serve, what we want to do is to serve as a central hub to develop LCA thinking in the Middle East, to raise awareness, to provide services, to collaborate with governments, and to collaborate with everybody who is interested in LCA. Our mission to build the local capacities, to build local and regional expertise. Yes, we don't have many expertise, but we have started. Dr. Nadia started 3-4 years ago, or maybe before. We started again with Dr. Nadia and Dr. Claudia since 3 years. So, and then we have trained hundreds of LCA experts who are now looking forward to do LCAs. Developing databases, yes, we need to develop a life cycle sustainability assessment databases for the region to drive this transition. So those are the stakeholders of the life cycle assessment network in the Middle East: governments, target groups who needs the services, local and regional organizations, sponsors, and LCA-based services by the members of the life cycle initiative. This is a more exemplified presentation of the MENA LCA network. It should provide services for life cycle assessment, social life cycle assessment, life cycle costing, environmental product declaration, product environmental footprint, and other environmental assessment services. We have several international and regional organizations working in the region. We can make use of this one. It's ministries and producers and other local organizations. So
sorry, Dr. Nasser, we're not seeing your screen now.
Oh,
in
really?
case you, yes.
Yes, I am. Of course, I am presenting. Now you can see it?
No. Yes, now we can see that you've started sharing. Okay, thank you.
So I will just come back to this one. This is the structure of the network, the MENA network. Is it okay now?
Yes, perfect. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. So here is examples of of the stakeholders of the MENA LCA network. So we have services that we need to provide: LCA life cycle assessment, life cycle costing, social life cycle assessment, which is now going very fast, product environmental footprint, environmental product declarations, and other environmental sectors. We have our international organizations, like, of course, Life Cycle Initiative, who is actually was behind every single moment of this event, and the other organizations that we can work with to develop our local and the regional databases. So here is a proposed organizational structure. As I said, LCA MENA is a network is still an idea. We need to develop, we need to build. So what we will need to have is an LCA board. So we will post in the chat box a nomination form for you to, if you know a figure in some organizations from the ones I shared before here, then please just nominate him and we will contact him just to be on our board. This board will work on nominating a chair and complete the other thing, the other organizational chart as shown here. So we have life cycle assessment members that also we will share a registration form for LCA MENA expert. So this one we have also here the a center, the first center in Lebanon. It's already up and running. So I think we have something right in this network. I think it will be fit in here. And then we will, the board will nominate advisory board for the network. Of course, this is an ambitious one. I cannot say it will work today, but at least we have LCA experts. We have a center in Lebanon, a center in Algeria, and we have lots of work done in Egypt and some other collaboration as mentioned before. And then we can start now by building this structure. So now what is the next stage? So I just can say first we will have membership interest form. So LCA professionals, manufacturing, verifiers, students, NGOs, anybody who wants to be a member in the LCA network. We will start promotion of this one. We will send the form to everybody who is interested in building the network, who is not interested just to be a part of it, but to share his knowledge and his views and his effort to build the network. We will send, and I think now it is in the chat box, the board member nomination form. Please nominate whoever you see that he can support the life cycle assessment network in MENA region. We will refine, of course, based on the board member, will refine the LCA network structure, and we will have advisory board nominated by the board members, and we will identify national, regional, and international partnerships, and then raising awareness among stakeholders. And this is actually, everybody spoke about raising awareness. Raising awareness is the key. People want it. People need to know what is LCA, what is EPD, what is PEF, what is whatever related to environmental assessment, what is needed from them to develop a database. So thank you so much, and I hope I didn't cross my time. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Nasser. And we have now come to the end of this event. And maybe before we close, Anna Wilkstrom had a bit of a connection issue, so she was not able to join us earlier. She's the acting director of the Swedish Life Cycle Center. So Anna, perhaps without the presentation, we were just going to ask you to potentially give us a couple of 1 minute of key messages, what it takes to make the network successful. We'd love to hear from you, but we're also conscious that we've run over time for the event right now.
Okay, I will try to keep it short, and sorry for missing a big part of the event, and thank you for inviting me. I would like to just share some experience from the Swedish Life Cycle Center. I can just mention first that Swedish Life Cycle Center is a center of excellence and collaboration platform for academia, research institutes, industry, government agencies. And the center fosters competence building and knowledge exchange in advancing and applying the life cycle field. Can you see my presentation now?
We can see your presentation, but we've already run over time. The event was supposed to close 5 minutes ago. So we'll just take a short comment from you on what would you think makes the network successful, and some perhaps recommendations for the Middle East North Africa network as they are building up.
Yes, so I can take that. I think what has been successful for us is our core values, which we built our collaboration on, and that is we are building a neutral meeting place for cross-sectoral solutions where all parties are equal. And the collaboration is also built on transparency and trust. And one of the most important tasks for me and my colleagues working at the center is to create engagement and a meeting place for all individuals where you're allowed to bring up issues on your own table or share your knowledge or ideas for projects. And then transparency are really important to be able to learn from each other. And then it's also important to have a global perspective. The life cycle perspective is global, and the global setup is crucial, and we need to collaborate with the global life cycle community. And one of the most important part for our partners is also the scientific-based importance of working with academia and with researchers. And this creates a backbone for the center. And what we have done and what has been successful is also to have a close collaboration with government agencies. To get funding and have dialogues to affect calls. And yes, so we have a close collaboration with 10 government agencies at the moment, which has been really successful for the center. Yes.
Thank you, Anna. I think this is a really good way to close the meeting, this wonderful session that we've had today. One great comment is that it's important to start with the right values and to focus on these values. So hearing the experience of the Swedish Life Cycle Center has inspires us to look forward to this. It's also great that you mentioned the global collaboration perspective of life cycle assessment in general. And today we've had panelists from different networks, including the Ibero-American network, who we can now consider as our global friends for the MENA region as we go ahead and establish the life cycle capacity and continue to grow it in the region. Is also really, for me, I think the biggest takeaway from this event has been to recognize all the capacity that we already have in the region. So we are really happy to have had you all join us today. We look forward to hear from you. We're going to put together the link in the chat right now of the Life Cycle Initiative. If you have any questions that weren't answered, we'd be happy to follow up. If you drop us an email, we'll be sharing with you the recording of this meeting, as well as the transcripts and the recording of the chat. And we look forward to seeing more and more events coming from the Middle East and the North Africa region. We look forward to seeing more and more papers, as well as application of life cycle assessments and life cycle approaches in this from this region. So please feel free to reach out to us. Make sure to join the Life Cycle Initiative so you're updated with global perspective on life cycle assessment. Also, feel free to refer back to the link on the Middle East and North Africa Life Cycle Assessment Network. And we look forward to hearing from you and to see you continue to engage on this topic and start to create a network and build these linkages in the region as well as globally. So thank you all. Thank you very, very much.